Today, I'm going to show you a super cheap kit I put together to spray fluid film as a rust prevention undercoating. I'll also show you how I spray fluid film and answer some common questions about this product because I've used it now on 4 or 5 vehicles. Here is the kit I put together. You can see it's filthy. That's for a couple reasons. Number one, undercoating with fluid film is a really messy job, so be ready for that. And second, I wanted to use this first to make sure it worked well before I showed it to you all. And I gotta say, I am pretty happy with how this thing performs. Let's talk about the parts you actually have to buy to put this kit together. We have the gun here, an air fitting, this bottle for holding the fluid film, and there are a couple of pieces of hose you need. Down on the bottom here, this is a piece of 3/8 inch hose on the bottom of the siphon tube. That's so you can reach all the way to the bottom of the bottle here when you're actually doing the undercoating. On the front, this is a piece of 1/2 inch tubing, and this is for reaching inside of frame rails, places like that. And there is a clamp here for holding the hose in place. So what does it cost to put this kit together? The gun itself is an Astro Pneumatic brand that I got on Amazon for $15. The hoses I bought from a local hardware store, they cost about $3.50. The clamp here was about $1.50. This fitting I already had, but if you were going to pick one up, that'd be about $1.50. And the bottle here is the bottom half of a spray bottle from Home Depot, which cost $2. So for this entire kit, I spent right about $23.50. Here's how I go about spraying a vehicle. First, jack it up, put it on jack stands, and take off all the wheels. When I was doing this, it was quite cold, so I got a pot of hot water and let the gallon of fluid film sit in there for a while. That helps it flow more easily. I put garbage bags over the disc brakes. You don't want to spray the pads and rotors with fluid film. You don't need to worry as much about drum brakes because they're not as exposed. My Chevy Cruze also has underbody panels, and removing those allowed me to reach more areas. They were held on with bolts and were easy to remove. Again, this job is really messy. To try to control the mess, I lay down plastic sheeting under the vehicle. This helps a lot, but I do still need to clean the floor a little bit afterwards. Now, pour the fluid film into the bottle. It's easier if you have one of the gallon lids with a pour spout on it. I did not have one when I shot this video, but I later bought another gallon on eBay that came with one. This is where heating the fluid film helps. It flows more easily when it's warm. The hose attachment is good for targeted spraying and getting inside frame rails and body panels. It works really well for getting inside cavities. When you're spraying inside frame rails, I found it works well to feed the hose in and then spray as you slowly pull it out. After I sprayed inside the frame rails, I took the hose off and used just the gun to spray the floorboards and all the rest of the undercarriage. Overall, I used a little more than a 1/2 gallon on my Chevy Cruze. You will need a decently powerful air compressor for this. I have the 29-gallon Harbor Freight compressor, which had no problem keeping up. You could use a smaller compressor, but you might need to take some breaks while it catches up. I kind of went overboard with safety equipment. Of course, safety glasses are always a good idea. I also like using hearing protection because I already have some hearing damage. I also used a respirator, but fluid film is non-toxic, so that's probably not necessary. It's one I bought from Harbor Freight for spraying paint, and I used it because I already had it. Also, if you use too much air pressure, you'll get a lot of fluid film droplets in the air. If you use a more reasonable pressure, it won't atomize that much. Somewhere around 70 psi is probably a good starting point, then you can go up or down from there. Overall, this cheap kit worked really well. Not as well as the more expensive fluid film kit I used in a past video. That Kelsport Products kit was better, but it was also $150, and this kit was only $25. Now, I'm going to answer some of your questions about fluid film. These are questions that you viewers submitted on some of my past videos. But before I get to that, there's two things I want to mention. Number one, this video is not sponsored by Fluid Film. Everything you've seen here has been purchased by me with my own money. Number two, when you go to lower the vehicle after you sprayed Fluid Film, the body's going to be all slippery. So make sure you put your jack on something where it's not going to slip off because of the Fluid Film and drop the vehicle. That would be bad. So the first question here, what vehicle prep is involved before spraying Fluid Film? The prep I do is really simple. You just go to the do-it-yourself car wash, you know, the kind where you pay by the minute and you have the wand you spray with. Spray off the undercarriage of the vehicle really well, and that's good enough. The next question here, I've been wanting to fluid film my Tacoma. One of my concerns was getting fluid film all over the garage and driveway as it drips for weeks. So like I mentioned, fluid film does make a big mess when you spray it, but that's not because it drips. It's really thick, so from what I've seen, it really doesn't drip off the vehicle. I guess if you sprayed it on so thick that there were just huge globs falling off, maybe you'd experience that. But yeah, dripping has not been an issue for me. The next question here, doesn't fluid film eventually wear off? And also, wouldn't dirt affect it greatly and actually make dirt and such stick? My experience has been that a lot of it will wash off over time on areas that get really high water spray. So for example, I'm thinking of like the wheel wells. Think about driving on the highway in the rain or when it's really wet out. The wheel wells are just getting constantly sprayed with water. But on other parts of the body, it holds up really well. So maybe a touch-up every year or two on places like the wheel wells that get a really high spray of water. But the rest of the body, you don't need to respray every year. Now the question about dirt, yes, dirt can stick to it, but that wouldn't really be a problem, and for me, not that much dirt has stuck to it. The next question here, my question is, how do you not gag at the stench of fluid film? In all seriousness, does the smell enter the vehicle as you use the heat? So fluid film is made from lanolin, which is extracted from sheep's wool. It's also used in cosmetics, things like skin moisturizers. So it does have a smell. I will say it's not my favorite smell, but I wouldn't say necessarily it has a stench like this person thinks. So yeah, you can smell it after you spray the vehicle. Like after I sprayed my Cruise, for the next week or so, you come out in the garage and yeah, you could smell it. But after that, it really fades. And so now, you know, I can't smell it at all. The only way I can really smell it is if I like stick my head under the vehicle. And I never smelled it while I was driving. So for me, it never really came in the vehicle. The next question here is about rubber products. Were any of the rubber components showing any sign of damage after a while? For example, the CV boots, tie rod boots, or any other soft rubber? So this is a good question, and the Fluid Film website says it can affect some rubbers that are not oil resistant. It seems to me though that any oil-based undercoating might affect rubber products, so I'm not sure that's something that's unique to fluid film. So what I would say is don't thoroughly soak rubber products with fluid film. I personally haven't had any problems with it damaging rubber. I mean, think about something like a big suspension bushing in your lower control arm or something. If you get some fluid film on that, that's just going to be on the outside. It's not really going to penetrate through the bushing and completely damage the whole thing. But yeah, do try to avoid spraying fluid film on rubber products. There were several questions here which kind of follow a similar theme, so I'll just paraphrase them here. Why do I use fluid film and not some other product like product X, Y, or Z? Well, there are other oil-based undercoatings that you can use. One person did recommend Pore 15, which is a rust encapsulating paint. That's really kind of a different thing. I personally wouldn't really use that for undercoating. But there are several reasons I use fluid film. It works well. It's really easy to get. You can get it at places like Napa or Amazon or eBay. It's easy to apply. It's affordable. It's, depending on where you get it, about $40 to $45 a gallon, and it's non-toxic. So there are other products you can use, and some of them, you know, might work as well, or in some cases, maybe even a little bit better. But they're often more expensive, or they're not as easy to get, or they're not as easy to apply. One of the products someone recommended, for example, is $100 a gallon, so it's more than double the cost of fluid film. So to me, it's really that combination of factors why I use fluid film. But yeah, there are other products to use. If there's something else some of you guys recommend, let me know in the comments down below. So what do you guys think? Have any tips for spraying fluid film that I didn't mention? If you do, post those down in the comments below. I'd be interested in reading them. Also, while you're down there, hit that like button and that subscribe button. You know, those are two easy things you can do that really do benefit the channel. And thanks for watching.